We're just going to get fisticuffs early here. We're just going to farm it out like we've seen. If you're new here, if you've never seen what's going on, it is a 1v1 for side select in our fearless best of 3. First turret, first to 2 kills, or if we go into overtime with the Ring of Death, it is the first kill.
Hey, Riot, where's the HUD? They need
Yeah,
to bring the HUD back up. We don't have the health. I mean, the health bars at the top I don't really care about. It's mostly the fact that I want to see summoner spells. Okay, we've got player cams. Let's get the rest of this one up.
We're evolving.
So
it's the Animorphs.
I found out, by the way, the timer that's for the Ring of Fire, it only comes up a minute ahead of time.
Yeah,
I thought it was going to be on for the whole thing.
It's in the top right.
Yep.
They don't want you to know. But the funny thing is, the timer comes up. That's just when it pops up. Then in some amalgamous amount of time later, it starts to close.
Yeah, I think it's 15 seconds, so that they.
No, I'd like to think it's fluctuating. It doesn't fit my narrative.
Yeah, actually,
it's
it's based on the mods. The mods at the time, the TOs, they come in and they're like, I think now's a good time. That was not. Look, they gave Sheer a bunch of time. I know that's what you're trying to reference.
They gave Sheer a bunch of time, bro.
They gave him a bunch of time. We're not getting much in this
bag.
1v1. I think that's fair.
Yeah, I don't think we're getting much. I think Hoya just has good range, and he has press the attack. So if Tien tries to take a trade, he's gonna lose a ton of health. Is it just straight tank build from Tien?
Let me go check, because I'll be honest, I've seen the Yorick numbers.
You're not a Yorick enthusiast.
Yeah, like I'm not gonna lie here and be like, hey, actually I've put in like 50 plus games of Yorick and Masters Plus, but I wanna make sure that the general idea of Yorick is still alive. It seems like he's going he's mostly just abusing a lot of the bruiser items right now. He's doing pretty well with Trinity Force. Let me see what one tricks are building.
Look at this. He doesn't even have to do anything, and Hoya loses like a quarter of his health. Love that.
Yeah, okay, so it's still looking vaguely the same. Trinity Force, Sorel does, so wouldn't be surprised to see Tien either pick up like an Eclipse early on or just straight up go for the Trinity Force. And we'll see how he's able to use these ghouls. Again, Hoya with level 6, just by manner of him being ranged as well, should be favored in shorter trades, and I think that's why we see something like the press the attack.
You just want to try to keep a health advantage. I will say now we got to level 6s. See if we get any action kicking off. Chains of Corruption is going to be huge, but I will say the Maiden is really annoying, if anything.
Always is. Always is.
It's not Meowkai or like the Meow skin, whatever. Meowrick. It's not Meowkai. Meowrick. So I don't know. You lose points for that, Tien, but still pretty nuts.
Trying to see, he went the one with the beard, so it's Spirit Blossom. Okay, all right, fair play.
That Maiden looks pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm surprised he's using it already. So I'm assuming he has some level of tech here, because he's a knower. Just using this to push the wave. He's just using this to push the wave, and then he gets to walk up to turret, and we've seen a couple of the turret first bloods already. So I wonder if that's kind of be the case. Yeah, he literally just gets to recall for free. Nice. Okay. All right, I love Warwick, man. I love Yorick. Cool champ.
Yeah, so far very interactive. Gonna go with the bladed steel caps and a longsword with a ruby crystal, so change it up a little bit there.
Wow.
But at least has the bladed steel caps.
Is OP.
Yeah, especially into Hoya's Varus. So Hoya's obviously going on hit. So is it Gwyn's first? Or is it Blade of the Ruin King first?
It's Blade of the Ruin King. I think you need just the ability to trade and also have some amount of lifesteal.
You 100% don't win that 1v1 when the Ring of Fire.
This is hilarious. This is such a funny 1v1. Good job.
He got the piercing arrow though. That's massive. The Halo arrows.
His back. I think this is a huge win for Tien. He literally the Maiden is still alive, by the way. He took a recall, walked all the way back over here. He cancels Hoya's back. And now with this wave, Hoya's low-key kind of trapped here, at least for the time being. He's going to try and take as much of this turret as he can, and it comes at very little resources. Now that he doesn't have ultimate, he literally get to do this.
Okay, well, we're starting to see why Tien grabbed this one. Honestly, though, are we leaving this up to it's a mechanical difference, or is it just the fact that he has a bunch of AI helpers?
The AI helpers are nice. You know, this is the one time that I will say AI has been useful and, you know, good for the environment here. But I will say Tien's also just playing this really smart.
Yeah,
I think he's playing this very intelligently. So props to Tien. Maybe we get some Yorick jungle. Hey, it has a 55% win rate right now. So
don't you put that thought into people's brains, man.
We were talking about his jungle pool already. So
we were.
And we said that jungle was going to be very important.
But I think the more important thing is blue side. Because then, if Weibo win, then they really can pick whatever they want with B1, with all the meta choices.
If we see B1 Yorick, I think we've already gone down.
We've lost the plot, you know?
Yeah. Ring of Fire in a minute. So
oh my god.
Look at how much damage this does.
Wait. No way.
He can't do it on this wave. I mean, yeah. Hoya literally presses ultimate, he one-shots the minion wave, and then Tien's just standing there like, all right, well, I just die for free. Cool.
I mean, he did so much damage to that turret, though. Oh my god. Hoya did stop his back there. I don't know if he can do it again. It does.
Yeah, there's still time. Still 30 seconds. Plus, he's also going to have the, you know, the quote-unquote from Lennon, the Ring of Fire contraction that is completely random. Definitely not scripted.
Yep, absolutely, definitely not scripted. Definitely isn't a set time for sure.
Yeah, I think Tien does recognize he has to stay for this wave, though, because Hoya with finished Blade of the Ruin King plus the attack speed passive.
Oh, wait.
Going to do a lot of damage.
If he loses the Maiden, that's going to be tough. Doesn't he? Unless the cooldown's already back up, but I don't think it would be, right?
No, I don't think it starts until
it doesn't start until it goes down.
Yeah, exactly.
This is tough. You got to get it back off. Are they just not going to back? He has so much gold.
Yes, 3,000 gold. Tien, look, you can see it in the player cam. He's like, God damn it. Okay, here we go.
Okay, well, he's just going to go in the end. Yeah, it's literally Blade of the Ruin King versus no item. Tien, what have you done? Hail of Arrows is going to get the kill. And Tien just lost side select for his team.
It's okay, you know. How many times do TT get to start on the blue side in a series, okay? So we got to give some freebies. Still better than the sheer 1v1. So, Tien, I get it. You stayed for a little too long.
He wins that 100%, bro. Like, there's no world he doesn't win that. That's crazy.
He's just getting some of the griefing out of the way now, so that when we get in the series, we get peak Tien. Okay?
That's the big brain. That's why that's why you're here. To keep me honest.
You were gonna say pay you the big bucks. We both know this is a
we both know it's very false. Yep. So I can't say that anymore. Oh, look at him. Oh no, he's probably Mimi though. He's been laughing.
The mental tilt
time.
Has already started.
There's maybe a little bit of embarrassment though. I will say the man did not back when like the Ring of Fire was there. He had 3,000 gold and did not back.
All I'm saying is that we have Tien on our screen now, but do we know if our boy Rafa may have been playing? Because that was a Rafa back. That's what we call the business.
He had Rafa money.
He had Rafa money, which, hey, 3,000 gold in the bank, not recalling. Guys, I think I messed up our tempo a little bit. Happens. It happens to the best of us.
Happens to the best of us.
I've never seen Tien and Rafa in the same room. That's all I'm saying.
Dude, how do you keep dropping these bombs, man? You're just so big brain. It's crazy.
Now I need to go back and see if Rafa's casted TT. wait, he was on the desk for finals. So he could play in between the
He could have got, yep.
Oh, he's remoting in.
Could have gone on stage and played. We'll have to send our best investigators into that now. But now, speaking of investigations, let's talk about this best of 3. We set it all up before. We're putting a heavy focus on the jungle matchup coming into this one. Can Beituan keep his head above water and keep his head at least against Tien in totality here? And can Weibo bring themselves to a 1-1 scoreline in this group ascend and stave away from that 0-2 start? TT will have, of course, chosen blue side to start off after they won the 1v1. They're going to ban away the Kalista to start it off. We already get that Poppy ban as well from Weibo's side of things.
We missed a ban. Restart the draft, boys. There we go. As soon as you were like, you're doing the regular thing of, just we're keeping the broadcast moving. We're talking about the bans. I saw the X come in rather early, and I was like, we're getting a restart.
Fine. Everything's fine.
It happened yesterday too, so I think
we've definitely not done this like a lot, and definitely have never had players on stage before. Never, ever.
All I'm saying, Lennon, is they won the 1v1, but they are not winning versus the client. And honestly,
they lost the client.
The client has been a bit of a beast sometimes when it comes to getting into games.
There's a lot of spaghetti in there.
Yeah, so I'm not surprised to see that everybody is 0-1 in terms of matchup.
Just delaying the inevitable draft that will be coming. So I guess that's where we can maybe bring back the conversation about the draft a little bit. I don't think we're going to be getting to York. I'm not going to lie. But when we were talking about these jungles, we were talking about Xin Zhao priority as well. Maybe some outliers coming through, but I know that Tien was enjoying the Lilia, has been willing to pull that one out. I do wonder how much prio Vi and the Xin Zhao will have here, though.
Yeah, it definitely seems like, especially for Weibo, when we talk about their priorities, they have really leaned on the Vi and Xin Zhao. Same thing for Thunder Talk and Beishuan. So for me, it's going to come down to how comfortable are we willing to like first pick an Aurora, especially with, you know, champions that have been kind of starting to move back. And I think in particular, the lack of Yone coming in from Xiaohu for a player that has been around for so long, it seems like he's kind of traded out the having to pick up the Yone. He's played a LeBlanc game before we've picked up the Swordsman, and I don't know. I think missing a champion like that has kind of tailored some of their drafts. It also, I think, reflects in the fact that we haven't seen very much Sejuani from Weibo.
True. I'd be very curious. It's so funny as well because Xiaohu is like the side lane king. And Yone definitely feels like a very strong side lane champion. So maybe one of these days we'll get to see him pull out the double sword, bro. But
so
it is an important yes.
Okay,
yes.
We were talking about, now that we have time, the draft is hopefully on its way back.
Gigadoon.
There he is. I want to talk about the strength of schedule for TT going forward, because it doesn't get easier. The next 4 matchups.
We just have to talk about it.
It's IG, it's TES, it's AL, and it's NIP. Like,
at least you get them all out of the way now?
Yeah, I guess. They're up against LGD after that, so like, or sorry, they're up against WE after that, so.
I hope they weren't against LGD.
Kind of playable, but I don't know. These next 4 matchups are going to be, you know, we're going to call them character building series for Thunder Talk.
It's the rite of passage here in Group Ascend. The biggest thing is we were coming into this one, we were wondering like what FPX and WE's impact in this group was going to be because of the nature of them getting here as the 3rd seed coming from placements and then going through that kind of qualification tournament. But it also has been a little bit of a question of some of these other teams, and especially TT, on like what impact they're going to have on Group Ascend. We finally get back into it though, and we did not miss a ban this time at least. It is going to be the Nefiri joining the ban table from blue side. You don't see that very often, but definitely terrified of Tien's Nefiri. It is also the Scion band away over there on the side of Weibo.
I think that's so interesting when you look at what TT have been preparing for Hoya. He's been mostly a weak side player, and also just look at kind of the perpetuity of the bans on red side. They've almost entirely been like Jace, Rumble, Gwen, sometimes Nefiri, as well as you know, sometimes the Kalista. So it's interesting to me to see potentially 3 topside champions banned away here.
Crazy. That's actually crazy. The Rumble is going to join there. I think that's the one that is like, okay, that's normalized here. But now the question belays to TT what they want to grab first. If they're going to try to get something with a little bit of flexibility to throw a wrench in the works against Weibo, because a 1-2 punch is coming of some very meta champions in that next pick phase for Weibo. It is going to be the Varus coming through for 1xN. I like that with the focus we said earlier, Alec.
Yeah. Give him tools to not only play through the laning phase, but also be very impactful when we talk about being able to play at range, and also just having that flexibility in the builds. So we'll see what Weibo are going for an answer. I like the fact that we're hovering the Vi. It does mean that we're potentially opening up for either an Aurora or the Ahri. I think these two have been the most popular, and we're going to get another Xiaohu Ahri game. Let's see if he can kind of push it forward. He's only played 1 game of it this split. He has been so focused on some other mages.
And when you draft this kind of combo, it is a tried and true carry combo between Vi and Ahri. and the lockdown you can provide, the mobility you can have out of mid lane. So they need to find a way to play around each other this time around. Has been a bit of a question mark, even for two very legendary names there. I fully expect the Xin Zhao to be that lock in there. It is going to be the immediate trade in the first game of this Fearless best of 3. So both these champions aren't going to be available further.
I think if they really wanted to, TT can go for the Talia here. If they just want to go for something that's going to be able to match some of Ahri's early damage, an Aurora is still fine here coming out from TT, and definitely still plays into giving them strong team fights and at least a mid laner or a mid lane champion that's going to allow them to play sides, which has been so important here in this season so far. We're actually getting a Ryze instead, so some of the onus now shifting over to TT in terms of some scaling and getting later into the game.
I like that. Hey, Saytab gonna have a little bit more resources his way. Breathe gonna swoop in and take the Ambessa away from Hoya. So at least he gets one of the comforts that he's also been willing to go for. But a lot of good backline access right now. A lot of lockdown from the side of Weibo.
Yeah, Weibo have such an explosive composition, and it's going to be about where can they find their targets and when they're going to be able to find them. They're going to have to lock them down with any 3 of these champions' ultimates. So back end of the ban phase here, it's going to be a focus of supports. I wouldn't be surprised to see something like a Braum taken away or even an Alistar. I think gets a lot of value in this game here for Weibo. And TT, I mean, it looks like they're probably setting up for some kind of pair with their supports. Feather has been, I think, one of the more standout supports when we talk about teams that are here in Group Ascend. So this duo has the possibility to kind of rock up to Light and Hung early on.
Bringing back the JDG developmental squad memories here from all those years ago. But now bringing it into the fold against at least Light having been one of the biggest names of recent history here on the international stage for the LPL. The Alistar comes in, so really, really good counter engage, but also engage of his own. A good beefy body for Weibo to play around. The answer has to come through for TT. What they want to go ahead and grab the pair up with this Ferris.
We're getting a couple of different champions hovered out here, but Feather's going to be locking in the Nautilus. So TT have good control around space. I think that they have strong side lanes right now. We'll see what Hoya is going to be going for. Wouldn't be surprised to see something like a Gnar come out here, or even maybe a Gragas, but we kind of see from Thunder Talk, I like the sufficiency of these solo lanes, and they still have the ability to rock into team fights. My worry now here for Weibo, what is this AD carry pick that's going to kind of be that kind of glue piece and allow for this Weibo to play, because they need to go all in. This is a pick comp through and through.
Okay. They're going to be speedy and they're going to run at you real fast. Maybe that's the tempo setting we wanted to see from Weibo into this matchup against TT, where we said on paper this should be a win. This should be a redemptionary moment for Weibo. And now they have to have that execution bar, right? That bar is a little bit higher than I'd say for TT's side of things.
We're going to need to see fast movement out of mid from Tian and Xiaohu. This 2v2 can be explosive when it comes to damage. I wouldn't be surprised, though. We've seen Ryzes very early on. You know, you get like a flash rune prison. Suddenly you open up an area for your jungle there. So a lot to happen here between our two mid jungles in these teams.
Should be a lot of fun. We also get the Hoya Aatrox here, another tried and true classic of his. But something that I do fear is going to need to try to find access into this game, and especially find those flank angles for himself, which I think will be fewer and farther between. But between these two teams, it's a little bit of a different story. Even if on paper you see Weibo at 0-1, this is still a team full of legendary names and a team that should be vying for at least top 6, as you said, Alk, where TT, they are destined to be a middle-of-the-pack team, but they need to earn their spot there here in Group Ascend. And it's a moment to potentially put WBG on the back burner and put them down 0-2. They did end up taking their last series over that FPX squad, but it was a fight to the death there. Here they have their backs against the wall against a should-be powerful team in Weibo. We'll see which team is living up to the test tonight. Which team in Group Ascend will be able to take that win here. It should be a lot of fun. I know Weibo definitely have a lot of confidence if they're going with a draft like this. If they're going for the full dive, if they're going for the heads banging on the wall moment here for them. But we're getting into game 1 of this best of 3 Fearless, and we're headed on to the Rift. got one good one.
I was really afraid that TT were not going to have any, because I remember the night before where it was LGD versus OMG, and the stadium was quiet. So, happy
I
to
will
see that TT is starting to gain some.
I hate to be a Debbie Downer to start the split, or start the stream, but I will say there's been a distinct change in the amount of, like, cheering that I hear. Because, I mean, that used to be literally the biggest bright point for me as a caster in the LPLs. Like, literally every team had massive cheers. Even if it was the worst of the worst matchup, you would still hear cheers throughout the entire stadium. I think that's been a stark contrast this year where teams that don't have big names, they don't get any cheers. And that's such a crazy difference to me, honestly.
Yeah, it's pretty sad.
League's
I will agree
changing
with you on that one. Yep, we got to get more fans out to the stadiums. So
bring us there.
All right, so starting off with this game, we've got junglers starting on opposite sides of the map here, which I think really does favor what this Vi can do. Already some good trading down from 1xN and Feather to chunk out Alistar. I just really honestly don't understand why, as Sivir Alistar, we are walking up to these two.
Yeah, and this was a final pick, Sivir, as well. And 1xN had picked his Varus early. Now Hong getting very low. If there was those blight stacks, I think 1xN might be just picking him out. This is also a return to that conversation we had. It's like, okay, maybe they don't pick for the 2v2 lane and they do win through game. Well, now they're winning through this lane so far, at least early, Alk, and 1xN was looking to make a statement down here.
Yeah, and if they keep them trapped under this tower, then, I mean, in a minute and a half time, there's going to be a Xin Sao coming down and ganking you under this turret. There's a very real possibility that this is possible. I mean, even Satab can kind of use some of his mana bar early, take an early roam down, but I think TT are feeling really, really strong about where their lanes are right now.
I do think jungle influence is going to be extremely important to kind of keep track of, but as you had mentioned earlier, that opposite side starts going to lead out to different goals for the two. Feather and 1xN, we're trying to get a little bit of a cheeky bush play. Not going to get it. A back did come through for Weibo's bot lane. So they'll try and play it safe as they can. 1xN going to slow push that one there now as well. As I still think this is a massive step for TT in the right direction of how to deal with Weibo.
Yeah, the one thing I will say is that because they don't exactly know where their bottom lane is and they're trying to deny some of these minions, they could have potentially looked for an early plate here. Now, Feather just kind of getting a little bit of vision. This is perfectly fine. I think that Weibo are recognizing that in the early game their bottom lane is going to be suffering, but once we get those ultimates, I think the fact that they empower and enable some of the top side of Weibo will make it much easier for them to find engagements into the backline. But this TT roster gets very tanky very quickly, so I think you got to be a little bit more on the dime, and we'll be seeing if they go for any early objectives and which ones they prioritize.
Yeah, we'll have the first dragon coming up here sooner rather than later. Obviously, the grub's going to be the later aspect of that one there. Still push coming in from TT's bot lane. It will start to even out now that we've gotten to level 3 for Light. He will be able to clear. I mean, that's why you have the Sivir. That could be the potential setup for them as they get the double headbutt pulverized from Hung.
Tien's here.
1xN will get his behind out of there at least. Oh, okay, I thought they were maybe going to look for it on the Feather, but they didn't actually get him in the end. He does end up using his dredge line out. Heal was burned from 1xN.
I mean, that's a flash coming out from Hung. I think the fact that we're just trading a heal is perfectly fine in this instance, gives them the movement speed to get out. I wonder how much of this is actually a change, because we're starting to see heal come back into the fold.
True.
Less so of some of those barriers coming in for our AD carries. So I guess that's something that we'll have to keep a mental note of as we go throughout the season. But I mean, that's still I think a pretty good win here for TT's bot lane. And then you look kind of pulling back the camera a little bit. Again, Ryze is going to become a pretty big monster on 1 and 2 items. And then you have Hoya, who already is doing fine here and is going to have ultimate soon. TT in this early game are looking fine. Early grubs, though, need to be a big priority for Thunder Talk.
And we said Weibo need to kind of keep their head on a swivel and keep going, at least with this composition that definitely loves to be ahead. The scrub's coming up in 30 seconds. We are getting the reset from 1xN. He has the Hail of Blades, like we were talking about, kind of lane dominance earlier. See if this advantage is going to lead out to anything. It is a small one. But we'll be transitioning up towards this top side. We did just get the TP up there from Hoya. So So I was curious if 1XN would actually deploy out. He does go towards this mid lane. Dragon will take a back seat. It's all about the grub party.
Yeah, so Breathe will at least pick up one minion wave, but he's dropping it in favor of just being here for this fight. The fact that our both solo laners have their ultimates will mean this is pretty important. We're getting a start here from Thunder Talk. Their bottom lane has a push up in top lane here for Weibo. They're going to have very easy waves of pushing this in. I think this is just one and done here for Thunder Talk.
Looks like they want to go ahead and take the scuttle. They'll stick around. They are seeding a ton of pressure to Breathe in bot side right now. They are sending Hoya down that way. A second grub goes to TT's side. Realm Warp going to come through as they want to get the play. Wind becomes lightning. They try to get in with the Crescent Guard. Level 6s are there for multiple members, and they were not for Weibo. TT strike first and strike fast. First blood for Thunder Talk.
Okay, so we're kind of using Hoya as like, hey, we're threatening you to potentially have to go for this objective. And then he's able to he gives up a couple of waves there against Breathe, and I think this is a pretty fine trade here for Thunder Talk. Again, we kind of favor some of their solo lanes as this game goes on, and now with Hung being caught out there at the beginning of that fight, they maybe get a little bit of time here to hit on this turret in top lane. So good job from Thunder Talk early on in this matchup.
I think Thunder Talk just caught Weibo sleeping a little bit there, a little bit of sleep at the wheel. Feels like the Realm Warp set up into knowing that they have the level 6 advantages feel really good for TT, and especially in this early advantage for them. Now, we will get reset on things. We'll be getting closer and closer to first items for multiple members as well. Does that change things for Weibo in the presence of aggression that we'll see from them?
If this was the old Ahri build, I definitely say that they're probably feeling a lot stronger, but with, Rod of Ages being so powerful in the mid lane right now, one-item power spikes, at least for solo lanes, isn't that big. I will say the one wake-up that I'm kind of looking at is now Breathe. He's the only one with an individual advantage over his lane opponent, a pretty sizable one at that, half a level up as well. So he might have that eclipse a bit earlier, and Mbessa one-item wake-up is very, very deadly. I think we've seen it every single time, so I want to see how Weibo are going to be including Breathe, because the best games from this team have been when Breathe actually is able to join and isn't necessarily on a side lane just split pushing.
And that's going to have to rely on Tien there on the Vi. I think he's had a pretty quiet, farm-heavy part to this early game. But the Vi needs to get active, needs to be delving out those resources and getting ganks off. So far, Tien, a jungler that is known to have constant pressure, hasn't necessarily had that against Beichuan. Now we might look at the Dragon coming up here as that next objective, but we are already getting to that next spawn of grubs here in just about 2 minutes. Would be very beneficial for Weibo to make sure they could fight that one and not give over 6.
They're going to try and go for a dive here. I mean, Hung is staying for a really long time on this top side. They had started making some pings, but now they're late. So this play onto Sitab needs to work. Otherwise, they lose priority in mid. They've lost the Dragon. And now even see this. Feather knows something's up. He's heading over to the top side. This really needs to go well for them. Maybe if they can get a second plate, it's good. But you could see Sitab knows. He doesn't have that flash. He has Realm Warp coming up.
Yeah, this is tough. Feathers coming around the bend here. They're going to get the CC chain into the damage, into the Spirit Rush, and Tien comes away with the kill. They get Xiaohu tanking up the turret, though they need to be careful. Their health bars are not going to be very hefty. They do get the kill and get out, so dive executed.
Ooh, and instead of going for the Dragon, maybe kind of trying to use the fact that for right now, Varus is going to have a lot easier time of clearing the mid-wave. Instead, Beichuan, maybe expecting the fight to go a little bit longer, instead is going to deploy out on the top side. And I hope from now on, what we're going to see from Thunder Talk is we're kind of just reinforcing 1XN, and once we have push in mid, we can slowly spread our influence around the map and try to play to one side in particular.
Yo, all I'm going to say is that's a fast cow. Hung going with the boots of swiftness on the giant cow. Get a little bit of speed.
No symbiotic souls. I'm sad.
No symbiotic souls. I actually do really like the symbiotic souls. Weibo are going to take this Dragon, though, and get themselves set up for potential stacking objective win condition there. Yeah, Grubs will be up in about 30 seconds, so I expect an immediate redeploy up towards top side.
Okay, Xiaohu does have the Rod of Ages complete, but obviously no stacks applied quite yet. Sitab did just recall and had to TP, because he died there, he doesn't actually have fully completed Rod of Ages, which I think does change, especially with the pre-mitigation healing that you have access to when you have Rod of Ages. So I wonder how much of a difference this is going to make. I think Satab is still very strong. He has a lot of HP, but he's down almost a full level in terms of experience versus Xiaohu, which feels a little weird to say, especially with how TT, I think, have moved around the map so far.
I will say benefiting his cause, though, is the fact that Yumu's has been completed for 1xN and the Sundered Sky for Beichuan, which I think is the most important thing out of all of that. So Grubs started up by TT. Really no response from Weibo. They have been late to a ton of plays, which is not a typical occurrence for a team that is led in the jungle by Tien. But already on 4 Grubs for TT. See now a little bit of preemptive damage by 1xN. Maybe a little bit of a tussle on the top side of the fight, though. There's instantly a crescent guard from Beichuan. Hoya has joined the fight. Tien uses his vault break to get out of there. Triple knockup. Chains of Corruption has come through. This fight's getting wild, but here comes the dive. This is what Weibo wanted from the draft. They need to find a target. They execute a target, and already they've gotten a triple kill for Xiaohu. And Weibo, they waited. They were hiding in the bush, and they pounce all of a sudden to a massive lead.
There we go. It's 4 dead immediately there, and what we've been seeing from Thunder Talk in this game is that they are willing to trade farm, willing to trade experience on the map just to make sure that they can overgroup and try to muscle Weibo out of the field. But here and then they get outplayed in some of these fights. I think, again, the solo lanes really stepping up here for Weibo and making the difference in this fight, as in this replay, I'm going to be honest, I'm just looking at the top side of this. You can't really see it in the replay, but Satab is fighting against Ahri and then just never walks back into this play. Satab, unfortunately, a huge passenger in this fight.
Yeah, it becomes a little bit chaotic here, and then immediately you see the instant turn onto the at least eastern portion of this fight by Weibo, and that's what their draft gives them, right? That's the power that they're drafting, the mobility they have, the dive execution that they have enables them to do, and TT played right into it.
I just see, I'm going to be honest, I literally am still getting flashbanged by what I saw from Satab. He realm warps in, he kills Light, and he goes, oh crap, I can't be here. It just flashes over the wall. He gets out, but it's just, we needed to see more, I think, from them, because if maybe he realm warps in, I think that fight's a little bit different. But now we're in a game state, 13.5 minutes. Again, I think part of them overgrouping now and giving up a lot of these waves kind of bites them as the team that wants to scale, wants to be a little bit earlier on the clock here and try to get some of these grubs. They're now going to be down experience. It just means that level 11 is going to be a lot sooner, especially for Weibo's solo lanes.
Yeah, and I'm looking at Xiaohu, a guy that we wanted to see step up, that we said, well, there's been some real disconnections between him and Tien. You think with this veterancy, the amount of dominant splits we've seen from the Xiaohu guy, what has happened, but now we get this Ahri performance. We get him very quickly becoming a mobilizing effort for Weibo in this series to try to get them even up in series score 1-1, at least if they can take this best of 3 over TT. Now, the next setup is this dragon if Weibo want to try to fight over it and get this second dragon for themselves. But you also have to consider the factor of TT's siege potential as time goes on and the scaling factor we talked about them from draft.
Yeah, especially with 5 grubs, I just think that right now, Thunder Talk, you do not need to fight this. I would really be sad to see Thunder Talk rock up into this river brush and try to contest. Let's use some of these grubs. Let's destabilize the map, open up some spaces so that we can either get creative flanks or just control areas of the map that make it difficult for Weibo to walk in later into the game. I think once you open up really long lanes, it might cut you off from some experience, but we've already seen Thunder Talk are willing to give that up and are trying to play a much longer game here.
I'd like to see a little bit of reservation there. Did have some thoughts on like when they were looking pretty dominant in the 2v2, if they could like kind of propel that any farther forward. Did not find that, and now we just get to fisticuff season against Weibo, who are literally fighting Satab on a ward in bot side, and unfortunately he will fall victim to the rampant cow, baby. Oh, he goes down. Xiaohu gets his 4th kill of the game. He's 4-0-2 and looking good on the Ahri.
And just a really well-placed ward, catching Satab out there. And now that just means Dragon going over to Weibo with 0 repercussions on the map. I mean, Satab, he's actively respawn, teleport back to this wave, but you already lost the timer there. Breathe as well. starting to, or continue to bully Hoya in the matchup now. So when are we ever going to be getting these 5 grubs actually going to be useful?
Yeah.
I think it's so difficult here.
And yeah, I think there's the...
I am in the...
Sorry
Okay.
about that, everybody. We were having some technical difficulties. We should be back. No Sona casting anymore.
We got Cho'Gath W'd. It's okay. It happens. We got Malzahar ulted. Both of us. There's no cage roll, though.
There is no cage roll. So we did see there a little bit of catch up. Rift Herald did go the way of TT. It is in the hands of H1 now. Try to get some standing gold with that at some point. Maybe even use it as a distractionary tool against the dragon stacking of Weibo, because if Weibo get one more, it will be sole point decision-making power for them. I will also point out Xiaohu has hit his second item, stopped up the library, got himself a Magi's, and already has 10 chapters in it. Going to be looking to scale that one up as time goes on.
I mean, look, while we were somehow gone, somehow Weibo were able to continue to explode this lead, and now 4,000 gold up. Xiaohu is 3 minutes away from being almost 4 levels on his opponent here. I think it's a damning mistake here from Thunder Talk. The first 10 minutes, they tried to play really fast, really tried to over-group onto one side of the map to play for an objective, and instead has completely backfired on them. They'll try to make this dive happen, but instead, Weibo, they can continue to just take away these turrets, just get rid of all of the economy of Thunder Talk.
Yeah, it's really tough. And now Breathe is feeling very enabled in the side lane as well, because he himself has now developed an over 1,000 gold lead over his opponent. And it's crazy. It's like, you know, children growing up or something. All of a sudden you look back and it's been like 10 years and things have fully changed. But when you look back just a few minutes ago, TT were in this game. TT were in a driving position in this game. And their scaling factors are still there for them. But Weibo have definitely utilized their momentum well.
Yes, and this was the lead that we wanted to see coming out from Weibo, especially throughout the series. It's something we'll have to track as the series continues to go on, whether or not these games are competitive, because Weibo, it very much should be expected favorites. So, got a minute and a half before this dragon here, Mazel, and I mean, this game looks very difficult to play. Again, yes, they do have the scaling, but they also aren't even playing on the side lanes. We finally got to see them use their 5 grubs, and they barely weren't able to take this mid-tier 1.
Yeah, it's really tough. See if they can get it before that next dragon fight here is going to be in about a minute and 10 seconds. Got second items coming up for TT's members. That dragon will be important for them to fight over. I honestly would have loved for them to maybe keep that Rift Herald around for just a little bit longer to try to maybe distract over this dragon fight. But speaking of those second items, we did just get Black Cleaver for Tien and Navori Quick Blades there for Light. And Light is going to be kind of unsung hero in a lot of these fights, a lot of this clear here going forward now that he's getting a couple items under his belt.
Yeah, especially now that he has the Navori Flicker Blades, like he just one-shots every minion wave. And if he gets time in a fight, he just takes over, right? So him and the rest of Weibo, I love what we've gotten from them in this pick composition with the fact that they have 3 different champions that can immediately snap engage and find an angle for them. Oh my god, what XN!
Speaking
Big respect.
He's shook, bro. He is shook. He knows what's coming if he's just over his steps.
I was going to say, if we're sitting in that situation, there's a Vi that queues forward on you and there's already a Sivir, I'm flashing too, bro. I respect the play coming out from 1xN.
He just knows what could follow there. And it's very tried and true from the draft. Like Weibo, they put their cards on the table, and they are just playing the hand they were dealt. As TT trying to get a little bit of preemptive push in mid lane before that dragon does end up getting started. Looks like Hoya might be in a little bit of trouble here. Gets fully dashed onto, has to pop the World Ender and his flash out. And now TT are left with no front line. They're left with everything going to hell in a handbasket. And Weibo, they make it look too damn easy, Alk. There ain't nothing TT can do about this one. They are just being ground into dust.
And that is what I'm Thunder talking about, boys. This was the series that we were looking forward to. Weibo, make it look easy, honestly. Just walking around the map, they have so much damage. It's going to be 20 pages here in the Magi's, and under no threat are Weibo of potentially losing this game from this position right now. They'll grab the Dragon, which puts them at soul point here. They already have an overwhelming advantage. Xiaohu is going to be in about a minute's time. He already has 10 stacks of the Rod of Ages. He's going to be 4 levels over this Rise. Not what we wanted to see coming in from Satab. I just don't get it. I mean, Hoya's like trying to like walk in, but now he doesn't have E. Yeah, he just has to give this up.
Yeah, that's just tough. I mean, you can only go with what information you have available to you, and he did not know that he was being watched the entire time by Breathe in the Bush. And then this is what the composition does best, is when you are picked apart, when you're all head for the hills, they will absolutely eviscerate you.
Rest in peace. Maybe the death of Thunder Talk and lane swaps was correctly stated instead of overstated. So, man. It sucks to see, especially for Thunder Talk, but again, for Weibo, I think in the matchups we were kind of talking about, like, this should look good for them. Ari was able to do something. Now Breathe does have the ultimate coming up.
Oh, he's going to try to buy time. There's a TP coming in. Oh, God, they've overcommitted. Oh, my God. What did I just watch? My poor eyes. That was a massive shutdown going the way of TT. Weibo are going to try to get the Atacon, I guess, on the other side of things, but your solo lanes are gone.
I think that was maybe repayment for what happened in the TES series, because a very similar play happened where they're playing, Xiaohu's playing the Rise, he dies, Breathe TPs, and immediately has to use his flash to not instantly die to TES. Yeah. So he felt like, hey, he did me a solid, I'll go ahead and TP, and this time I will die. And, you know, maybe they're throwing TT a bone there. It's the 2 kills plus the shutdowns and the turret there. A lot of gold going over to Thunder Talk, but now there's an Otacon here for the side of Weibo. I don't know if that's necessarily going to be doing too well.
56 roses to 6, by the way, for Weibo's advantage there. But
that means Satab's XP is going to be even worse between these two.
It's going to be tough. You know what I'll give Xiaohu? He wanted the numbers to match. I mean, no, I'm a numbers guy, so
10 and 10 on the Rod of Ages and the book. Yep. Good one, man.
Yep.
Good.
Yeah, see? You were catching what I was putting down.
Yeah.
Let's see what I was talking. But it is now a situation where TT are a little bit closer in the lead than they were. Maybe now looking for even more. Xiaohu will have to pop that Spirit Rush. Gets the depth charge popped on him. TP coming in now from Breathe. Hung getting a little bit low there. Did have to pop that Unbreakable. TT looking like they have some fighting efforts here, and we're starting to get to the point where we have to talk about those item completions and maybe getting to that precipice for TT at some point in the future.
I am looking at these 3 item spikes coming in for 1xN and for Satab. Looking like he's going for the Zonias for this Rise, getting closer and closer to that. And Weibo, a couple of mistakes, you know, some fumbling here from them slows down the game and allows for the side of Thunder Talk to farm. My issue is in 2 minutes time, at the very least, we're going to have a soul point fight. And with this Baron, if Thunder Talk ever get picked out on a side lane, which can be very easy with Sivir and this Ahri, I think you have to start wondering if Weibo or how strongly Weibo can kind of end this game. How quickly can they get it done? Because, like we were saying, this game goes late. There's a very high likely potential that Satab on this Rise can take over.
Oh, they knew Xiaohu was there. The charm going to connect. Xiaohu will not be caught. I'm also looking at this dive team. You know what benefits a dive team? A bunch of movement speed after you use your ultimates. It would be really nice to have that Cloud Soul for Weibo's side of things for sure. So maybe leaning on that side of the map even more so as we see that redeploy already coming through. Looks like Light will try to get his third item here. So Sivir, she's hit the break point now under Light's control with that IE completed, and they're coming right out to fight for this dragon setup.
I think it's a huge problem now for Thunder Talk. Usually when we're talking about itemization, especially for AD carries or AD champions in general, the lethality option gives you more upfront damage and is typically cheaper, but lacks some of the scaling or higher numbers.
1xn.
Oh, 1xn, you're probably flashing here, brother.
Yeah, unfortunately you can't get away from the cease and desist like that, even with the extra spell shield there. Right. And now they'll just lose mid lane big time. I mean, they'll lose the inhib. Luckily, they'll be able to defend a little bit more from that, but they're trying to get some side lane pressure up in the top side with Satab.
Well, that was the pick that we were kind of wondering, like, if they can control this, if Weibo find a pick that should open them up for the dragon. They're trying to see if Thunder Talk are going to very blindly walk into their jungle.
This is just solo queue status, bro.
I think this is fine. Look at Satab top lane. He's just hitting a tier 2. He's getting gold for his team.
Oh, Dredge line does connect. Okay, here comes Weibo. They're overextending for sure. Dragon is coming up now. They should all turn back. Tier 2 did go the way of Satab, so that'll be some decent gold. That should be his third item coming up here. TP, I don't think is available. Okay, it is available. Maybe they look to fight this, but the dragon is already going their way. So it is Weibo going to claim that Cloud Soul and benefit the dive comp that they have.
I wonder if they're going to try and get cheeky. We haven't, I think, seen this year any particularly creative uses of Rise Ultimate. But you can see it. Satab, 1xn, and Feather are all standing next to each other trying to see
This is so bad. Like, this is so hard. You're literally begging to get pulled apart at the seams. They have the tools to run you down, TT. They've been spread apart. Maybe they can actually get Hung here. The Unbreakable Will's there. 1xn is tapping here as Hung has fallen. So now we're evened up. Realm Warp going to come through, but not utilized. Xiaohu using a defensive Spirit Rush there. We do lose both frontline supports, and Baron started up by TT. They're scaling, and maybe they finally arrived. 3 items there for both big carries, and they're forcing the hand of Weibo to breathe. Looking for a little bit of preemptive damage onto Hoya. Beichuan still in the pit. Tien forced to flash out of the fight now. Baron down to about half health. Xiaohu looking for public execution. Goes in on Beichuan. Beichuan's already down. Breathe is rampant on the back line, and he is going off on the Mbessa. Meanwhile, Xiaohu is ringing up the rear with Light, and the bounce off the ward will get the kill for Light himself.
Look at how close this game is. They're not going to be able to get the Baron. They're looking for the end here. Long death timers for Thunder Talk.
Double TPs.
It's 25 before the next member. It's just Feather by himself. Weibo are going to look to try to end game 1.
Yeah, look at the faces of TT. They know doom is a reality here in game number 1. They gave up a fight. They kept it a little close in the end. But in the end, Weibo were just stronger. 29 minutes in, that will be the breaking point for TT in game number 1, and Weibo will move up to match point on their attempt of a potential first series win of the Group Ascend stage. They looked damn good doing it too. Long way away. Now, we go to draft for game number 2. Obviously, TT on that blue side yet again. Going to be banning away the likely candidates from that game number 1 ban list as well. The Kalista, the Gwen ban already. It is also the Poppy and the Rumble ban by Weibo.
So they could throw another top lane ban here. Remember, it was Scion on 3 from Weibo in the first game.
Ooh.
Getting rid of them is Fortune. Interesting. So maybe even prepping for an Ezreal very early on. I don't think it's going to be first pick worthy. I think, if anything, they're going to try and secure the mid lane pick here, especially now that Aurora has gone through and is ready for game 2.
True. That would be kind of fun to see. Maybe a little bit more mobility out of that mid lane as well. Let's see, as Weibo are holding that last ban to the last second. It's going to be the Ashe that you talked about, and it is going to be taken away. So, first pick on the table for TT. Last time around, it was the Varus first pick. Didn't really pay dividends there with how much the blue side first pick can get.
Oh, we just completely missed Nefiri. Yeah,
yeah, they banned it the last game. That was the other ban that was on TT's.
Beichuan's first game of Nefiri here. It only took us a couple months, but a couple weeks, I should say. But now that we're here, Gotta see if he's going to be carrying. This is already kind of in his wheelhouse. What are we going to see from him? Can he be the big carry for this team? Because he's really been the initiator, the person that's starting the fight. Sometimes has to give up his life so that TT can find an angle. And we're just getting a world of firsts here. Tian's first Skarner game here.
Yeah, I love it though. It's immediate lockdown onto the Nefiri. We'll see if they actually are able to combine that with some real carry performances from their solo lanes, just like we saw in that last game. But that's what they're setting up for here. And a lot of spatial lockdown right now by Weibo as they grab that Taliyah too.
Wow, the times in which Tian has actually played Skarner, it was 2018 Spring, 2023 Regional Finals, and then 2 games at this last year's Worlds. So, insane track record there. But now with the Skarner, you have so much great setup with Taliyah, one of Xiaohu's best champions that we've seen from him this year. And ThunderTalk maybe opting for a bit of a dive, wanting to get right into the face of something like Taliyah. I like this. This is probably going up towards top lane.
I kind of like it. You're playing around H1, which we had said in past, and especially in Split 1 of this year. I mean, that was a main focus for TT in finding a lot of wins, was playing through H1's carries. Now they're going to try to set him up for success here as well. They are going to go with the Gnar, so that should be with this Galio in mid.
Yeah, Galio, I mean, we haven't seen Satab play the Galio this year. Obviously expect him to do so, but I feel like this is definitely like, all right, you got to play Ryze. You've been playing a lot of these carries. I need you to take a backseat this game. We need some we need some more support coming in from the mid lane. True. So going to be difficult for some of these lanes from Weibo to really push out their opposition, or at least chunk them out very early on. And what I need to see from Weibo is not only how are we moving this Jace around, but how are we again mobilizing Xiaohu and Tian around the map to make it very difficult for TT to play.
That's the biggest kicker. And now that we're in the second phase of bans, we already get that Rakan ban away from Feather. It is going to be the Corki ban as well towards Light. Still been something that we've been seeing fluctuate a lot into that bot lane, especially to add some flexibility to the damage profile of your team. But the second ban is going to be important to think about because it's got to be maybe some more setup around TT is what they're going to be focusing for that next phase. It is the Ezreal.
I like that. Now the Corki's already gone. You've already have the Misfortune and the Kalista, so with Ezreal taken away, I'm gonna be honest. I'm looking at either a Kaisa potentially here for either of our AD carries. True. Jhin definitely comes to mind as well, but depending on what the AD carry is, I think there's a very real possibility we actually get that Jinx game that I was talking about.
Yeah, I could see it. Maybe the Draven too. I don't know if we want to get that wild here, but we'll see the Xayah ban finally by TT as their last ban, and it will be the Kaisa picked up by Light here to add a little bit more damage to their profile that we were talking about, and that's some dive potential to go on top of a ton of CC.
Really great poke coming in from Breathe, and then you just have so much dive if you really want it. Although, I will say from what Weibo are showing, this feels more like a poke slash
for sure.
pick composition. You do have the fact that with so many champions on the side from TT, it is going to be difficult for them to actually punch through a front line, but if they get a seismic shove, suddenly the game kind of changes. So how Weibo play around terrain is going to kind of be life or death for them.
Yeah. The Tristana Rel were the final lock-ins for TT, so they do have some damage going for them. It will be the Tristana bot lane, though, so we'll see if they can adapt some focus down there. But for me, the all eyes for TT are on H1, on this Nefiri. You have to carry on this champion.
So we need to see early invades. Obviously, it's going to be a little bit difficult to get lane priority, but you're playing Nefiri, so being able to jump walls is not really an issue for this champion very early on. And I want to look at how ThunderTalk are going to play around Beichuan with this Nefiri, because he doesn't have very many targets. I'm going to assume that Breathe is going to be going like the mixed bruiser build of Jace, so you're kind of only focusing Taliyah and Kaisa, and it's already difficult enough to get onto Taliyah with her Unraveled Earth.
Yeah, it definitely can be, and I think there's a lot of options for that kind of siege potential, but also objective control from the side of Weibo. And that does bar a little bit of an executionary factor for them to find and set up around those objectives. But I do really like the at least concept of giving BH1, at least for TT's side of things, that extra resource, that extra give to try to take down Tien.
He needs to be the big driver here. When we talk about this team, it has almost exclusively been 1xN, Feather, and then the rest of the crew, the supporting cast here. I think this is by and far away the most, like, I guess, tools and kind of carry potential we've seen from him. We've gotten like a couple of games of Zyra. I think the Nidalee games have been so-so. And you have Nefiri, one of the most important champions that we've gotten. So gonna be big, kind of a big question as to whether or not ThunderTalk can actually get into the backline. They have so much dive here with this Galio and this Tristana. The fact that they can link up, it's very easy for them to play, in my mind.
Yeah. Need to see them be proactive as well and get a little bit of a lead. If the last game was anything to go off of, TES will run away with things. We're into game number 2. Weibo on match point in this best of 3.
Oh my god, we got Jason Arcane. Beautiful cosplayers.
Hey,
oh my god.
Let's go. And we also got cheers for both teams more than once. Let's go. We're leveling up. Okay.
I think, the fans are waiting for later in the split. I will be honest. There are a lot of games now. There's a lot of games. The splits aren't as long as they used to be, considering now we're playing a 3-split year. So maybe wanting to
because of the lack
experience.
Because of the lack of Nirvana games, do they become more high priority? Because, like, oh my god, we finally get to see Nirvana like one time a week.
So we talked about this last night, and Grapes was asking me, like, do you think it's better that the Nirvana groups are backloaded or front-loaded? And for me personally, I would like to get all the Nirvana games out as soon as possible, because then I get to watch the best teams play, right? Like, I get to just have only Group
wanted
Ascend.
2 teams to be eliminated from the rest of the year super early.
LNG
like, let's get them out like next week.
Look, by the end of this month, we might have LNG done with the year, which I'm okay with compared to what we've seen from them. So, focusing back in on this game, junglers are starting on the same side, but important note here for Weibo is that they got early vision and can already know that Beichuan has the possibility of ending up on top side same time as Tien. So will be something I'm going to be keeping track of as we get through this game in the early game.
Yeah, and I think mid-jungle combinations are going to be super important for the at least bridge building for both junglers in this regard. A lot of CC setup for Weibo once they get to that level 6 mark. I expect that to be the case around that grub fight at some point in the near future. But we also saw a little bit of a late dragon stack start last time around after the first grub spawn. Does this pathing lead to more of that? Or are we just going to fully focus grubs this time around again?
So there's a very real likelihood that dragon becomes very important in this series, or in this game, because of the fact that I don't think either team really wants to kind of play on the side lane. Weibo are slightly better at being able to do that with the Talia and Jace, but I just don't think it's going to be a meaningful factor here. And I think that the Dragon starts, specifically this bot lane, is really explosive, or has the potential to be very explosive. So I'm kind of looking towards, after they finish their first clears, whether or not these junglers are going to kind of try to flip their pathing or have some stops ready for the bottom side of the map.
More importantly, though, as my zoological brain takes over, who wins in the fight over a scuttle crab, a dog or a scorpion?
Why are you asking me? You're the zoo guy here.
That's why I'm picking it apart with my brain. I mean, I guess it depends, because that is a giant scorpion. But
like
honestly, a pack of dogs should win that. Yeah, but the pack of dogs got scared. He's a big scorpion.
Yeah, Nefiri's now flipped and gone towards the bottom side of the map. Tien's here.
Extals impact, gets flashed and jumped away from by Hoya. But that will be returned to, no doubt. TP's going to get expended by Hoya, and Breathe will pick up some turret plates.
I think really good job on the opposite side of the map coming in from Weibo just to try to protect some of these camps. Now, Satab in a bit of a wary position, dodges out on the flip, and Feather's here to reinforce, but he has been getting taken to task here in this 1v1. He's going to obviously, it's going to get easier for him to play as he goes forward. More levels, more HP, more items to try to help with that, but so far Shahu has been doing a good job in both of these games of kind of holding down Satab and putting on the hurt.
Getting a little presence with that walk up from both supports, as we already got the transition to top lane by 1xN. Like going to be a little bit later on that move, maybe to try to get a dive off beforehand. Tien will be spotted on this side of the map. Grub's coming up in about a minute and 10. Feather is going to be here.
Okay, so he's noted. They're going to stop the dive, at least not go for it right now. Really smart job from Hoya and the rest of Thunder Talk. I was a little bit worried. We talked about it earlier, right? We're like, you know, Gnar is a champion that doesn't usually succeed in a lot of the dives, so, you know, that was kind of a reason we didn't see him in the lane swap meta that often. But TT, just recognizing that they were able to make that swap, they move Feather over, and okay, I don't know how much
that was an interaction of all time.
Yeah, his jungler is here, and really, I think this kind of helps the Tristana. Hopefully they're able to actually fight on this top side, but, I mean, Satab took such a big trade early on that I think he's more focused on just getting level 6 so that they can play for these grubs.
I love to see teams that know they have an advantage go for little things that mean big differences, right? Just sneaking that dragon before this first spawn of grubs. It's not something we see a lot of teams go for in these days, but it is something that Weibo were willing to go commit towards now. They do get the reset and redeploy onto the top side. Should be there in time for this grub contest. Should be started up, though, by TT. As it looks like Beijuan will be the first one there.
So Hoya does have teleport. I do assume that Thunder Talk, what they're going to do is probably send this Gnar up into the top lane. If a fight breaks out within the next 10-15 seconds, there will be no Mega Bar available. And Hoya's actually ending up staying. So maybe even trying to squeeze for level 6 on this next minion wave, but he's not going to have enough time to build up enough rage for the ultimate available.
This feels a little tough. Light is trying to keep Hoya here. He's actually taking him at the 1v1. Gets the force out, but Hoya will have the TP, and unfortunately Light does not take TP as the ADC. Actually, Weibo forced out of the grub pit. They realize what the play can develop into. Will just give away the first 3 grubs to TT.
I think they just recognize that, yes, they do have a Jace on the opposite side, so his level 6 is not as impactful, but they've got a Galio. You know, Hero's Entrance is a hell of a drug if you only watch Grand Finals of Worlds last year, so I get it. I understand. They didn't want to play around a potential big loss point there in Weibo's side. And now, Thunder Talk coming back into these lanes. They have these early grubs. We do need to see them use it. You have a Tristana this time. The ability to take down turrets is a lot easier in comparison. But we really haven't seen Weibo give them much space to actually hit on these structures.
Looks like we're going to get a little bit of scaling implementation. Tien trying to get in there. Be a dirty son of a gun in the chicken nugget take. It's going to be the first time we see Tien be a little aggressive in his pathing so far here in this one. Which I think if you're going to keep pressure on the Defiri, that's a good thing to think about. Because this champion, if just left to her own devices, will just farm away. And you already see a decent differential being developed there by Beijuan.
Coming back to the solo lanes here, I'm really liking how Xiaohu's been playing. We kind of saw it in the minimap there. As soon as Jace tries to push that top lane wave, since they don't know where the bottom lane pair is, drops into Fog of War. Because he knows on a dime, he basically has to be ready to go top lane in that instance. But Breathe does end up giving up the wave. Tien will be here in time to try to reinforce this. Hung has actually gone and recalled, so they're going to try and just make sure that this doesn't go down. There's really nothing to play for the time being, so again, I kind of wanted to see how much structural damage can Thunder Talk get during this timer, just because there's not much to play for at this moment.
And if we're teeing off from the last game's performance, obviously it was kind of, as we said towards the end of it, what we expected from Weibo. But that's what a wild card like TT can always bring to the table here in a group like Group Ascend, where if they get the right comp, they get the right trigger, they can absolutely be a menace to the standings here. And it is double round robin, so a lot left to give. What I said, getting stopped in his back. It'll be fine, though. He should be able to just back away. Is going to still commit to that reset, though. Might be in a little bit of trouble. As that top lane is going to get pushed in. They did end up bringing Light and Hung up that way. Still a while till this next grub spawn for them, but about a minute till that next dragon spawn. Weibo utilizing that dragon stacking for themselves last game very, very handily.
And look at what they're doing on the map here. They're just constantly swapping. They do not want to give the Kai'Sa the ability to 1v1 or play against, or more specifically probably the Gnar versus Jace. So everywhere that this bot lane moves, Weibo are next up on the map. It's TT. They're like, okay, we just saw Jace on the bottom lane. Let's try to get our Gnar onto the opposite side of the map. And I love this coming in from Weibo. They're not only matching, but I think cutting off. And now they've made it very awkward for Thunder Talk. It's 30 seconds before the Dragon. Beichuan's going to try to get a recall in here. And if he can get early Eclipse before this next fight, I will say there is potential for them to try to find an angle in this next upcoming objective.
Yeah, the big convergence here in this next grub spawn is the timing of first items, plus the fact that everybody's going to have ultimates this time around. And I think if we're looking at it, Weibo trying to get a early pick before the fighting even kicks off. Looking here onto Feather as well. Going to get the impale there too. Xiaohu steps in and the kill goes to Tien. I think that's going to be a bold TP from Satab, though. Hung is the focus by Beichuan. Gets one reset there. Looking to get some more kills. Gets the heroic entrance as well. Weibo starting to feel the heat of the dog, but Satab goes in and dies. Light takes him down. And now Weibo with momentum at their back. Looking to take down Beichuan and 1xN here. Tien going to flash play. Exalt impact. Seismic shove does not hit after the flash from 1xN. That'll be a ton burned by both sides.
And that should just be the Dragon here going over to Thunder Talk. Breathe, going for an all-in on Hoya. He still has Flash. So, not under too much threat here, but really good stuff there from Weibo to find that kill. Find those 2 kills there. And Tien even trading his summoner spell. So these next grubs in particular are going to be a bit tricky for Thunder Talk to be able to fight. There's no ultimates from Satab or Beichuan. And now no Flash or Cleanse. As we get a replay here, I'm kind of glad that they ended up kind of pulling this onto Feather. I think there's a very real kind of likelihood that I think this fight could have gone a lot better here for Thunder Talk.
Oh, Xiaohu getting away from a time. Step to the king of spring and you're going to get the claws, baby. That's a tiger to you. Xiaohu with a massive 2-for-0 under turret.
Well, Lennon, I'm going to be honest.
Bring your masses.
The 2-0 there. Oh.
Bring your masses.
For this play. Get me out. Get me out, boys. We're done. This game's over. I mean, like, I'm obviously exaggerating, but they lose the 3 grubs on the opposite side of the map. 2 of them die when they could have just rotated their bot lane up for this play instead. I think a massive mistake coming in for Thunder Talk that, again, jeopardizes the game state here.
No way, man.
They just, I mean, the Unraveled Earth, just so much work, especially with the Seismic Shove. It stops 1xN from being able to auto-attack and maybe get that last auto to get the explosive charge, and then he just TPs out. They get the top tier one as well. In basically 2 minutes, Thunder Talk have just giving their opponents almost a 2,500 gold lead.
It's giving me a little bit of recollection from that last game, too. All of a sudden, you blinked, and Weibo were up like 4,000 gold, and they did not look back. TT not going to give up on the map state here, looking for a little bit of something on that bot side. Didn't really find much. Need to protect 1xN, but also Hoya is getting caught out. They go for the play on the Light. This is it. They try to pull the trigger, and the dive is not there. The flash comes through, and Light is safe. Hoya will burn his flash on bot side, but they will not take his life either.
Really well played there, coming in from Light, just showing a lot of poise in there. Gets the ultimate out. Does lose his summoner spells, so... Hey, that Herald that's spawning in 3 minutes, same thing with this Dragon. They will not be available for this next upcoming fight. So someone that they can look to focus, again, with this Rel and Naafiri combo.
Now we are on first items for everybody, except for supports, obviously. They don't get to have any fun. We are still looking to scale up on Xiaohu and complete that Seraph. So we take a little look at what happened in bot side as well. But does this item spike change anything here? Does it feel like TT have a dog in the fight? At least for Beichuan.
After all that, I think Hoya's just dead.
Yeah, no, there's no.
All right, cool.
He's
brother.
Done.
I will say that I think the first items for Thunder Talk are a lot stronger, but you look at how they're playing fights, you look at some of the item or more of the experience differential between some of the champions here, and I think they're starting to get a little bit diffed. I think the first items are not going to do much here. I mean, even for Satab, it's a scaling Rod of Ages here. And Xiaohu now finished with the Seraphs. He's just that much more difficult to kill.
Oh, it's so tough. And again, we go back to the conversation from draft. It was literally about the spatial construct that Weibo wanted to make around these objectives, around these fights, with all the spacing tools that they have. They've been able to utilize it very well. 1xN still trying to farm his way to victory here. Does have a little bit of a CS differential, but unfortunately the kill going Light's way did change that factor a little bit. So TT struggling to find anything in this series, and they're going to have to keep trying to come up with answers. We have a Rift Herald spawn coming up in about a minute. Another Dragon. Luckily, TT did go 1-to-1 on that one, but coming up in about a minute and a half, too.
Well, now that they have both of the tier 1s on either side lane, this mid lane turret is very susceptible to a dive.
I think I might have lost Alk Battery.
Oh, nope. I was muted on Discord.
Oh. Nice, let's go,
nice.
My king.
I was just saying that with the tier 1s down, this makes the mid-tier 1 very susceptible to a dive. Like, you can have Talia come in from a side lane and cut them off. You have the Skarner that can get ready. So warding both sides, not only the blue side entrance, but also taking control of Raptors, is potentially going to give an opening for Weibo to, I think, crack this game open and really find a solid lead. Already 3,000 gold up, and a majority of that has been just them outplaying around these objectives. And, hey, we've got a couple of those spawning in a few seconds' time.
Yeah, I'm just looking at Beituan's numbers go up in the CS differential over him and Tien, and wondering if it's really going to matter, or is this one of those games like solo queue where you have a really fed jungler, but it did not matter because of everything else going on in the game. The Rift Herald is up. I wonder how much priority that takes over the Dragon spawning in about 15 seconds. Weibo have actually been very willing to go for some of these Dragon stacking setups, but TT going to be the first to the Rift Herald and start it up now.
So Xiaohu could use his ultimate, but he's kind of retreating from this area. I assume that as Weibo continue to move forward, we're going to be getting set up. There's the Talia wall, but he didn't jump through it. He can just walk out. What?
All right.
Okay.
Well.
All right. Well, now he's here.
The Rift Herald's down to about 2,000 now as well. Beituan is there. It'll be taken by Tien. No way. Gonna get the two-man impale too. Light is just untouched here, shining like the man he is. Heroic entrance is gonna be stopped in the middle of it. 1xN trying to get the resets, but he's in the wins. Is he gonna get it? He's down. Satab trying to get the cleanup kills out of the rest of Weibo. They might actually get some of these more here. No, wins of more, not enough. Hung gets out, but that's 3 kills for 1 to TT's favor.
Okay, but how much damage now can Thunder Talk do on the map? You already see Beituan pinging over to the Dragon. Hoya is still, he didn't even TP for that play. That could have gone a lot worse, but I mean, Weibo lose the fight in its entirety. They did not have enough setup. I think the fact that this Talia wall is just absolutely useless. Didn't set up the fight all that well. Tien even lands a 2-man Skarner ultimate, but this flash from Satab puts so much pressure, it stops them, and we get to see 1xN finally pop off into this fight, even if it comes at the fact that he has to just flash. He has to use everything to try to get this done.
But isn't that so accustomed to what we've seen from TT? When they find these clutch wins, a lot of the time it's 1xN popping the hell off in team fights. Luckily, they gave him the Tristana this time around, but he's got a large mountain to climb here as another Dragon goes the way of Weibo. That should be getting close to second item for majority members there.
It's tough, though, because as fun as that fight was, Lennon, Tristana no longer has Flash or Cleanse. I think while she does have an innate jump ability already as part of her kit, I think not having those summoner spells is really, really dangerous. They summon the Rift Herald. Didn't get all that much done. Tien's coming over the side.
Tien gets stopped by the Shattering Strikes. They got the turret. That's all they really wanted. It'll force the retreat out of the rest of TT. And it'll be Weibo moving back out. Hoya was getting a side lane turret. Should be able to clean that gold up. Needs to get out of here after that, though. Weaver's wall coming in. He just wanted to get the turret. The turret finally falls, but he might get caught out here. Hoya needing to try to TP, but Xiaohu expertly waiting for it, and now he goes down. Breathe will kill his counterpart and get his first kill of the game.
All right, but look, during all of this, they put members towards the bottom side of the map. Satab's going to, at the very least, crash this wave. Also has Beituan, so that'll be 2 turrets there, and I think Weibo over-indexing to try to get that mid lane tier 1. end up coming the losers in that trade versus ThunderTalk. So some good gold going over to the side of TT.
Very true. And TT, they gave the resources to Beichuan. They said, here, take the dog and go on a walk. And he's on 2-0 now. And with 2 items completed. That Black Cleaver and the Clips combo there. So very much in favor of Beichuan if he can find the right targets and find the right carry moments.
And we look across from them here, Lennon, and I just see Muramana almost completed here for Breathe. What looks to be a Leandri second item for Xiaohu. Same thing with like a Rage Blade coming in for Light. So once these item wake-ups come through, I mean, there's no real objective to fight for at the moment. Otacon is just now spawning, but I'm mostly looking at that Dragon in 3 minutes' time. That becomes a big issue here for ThunderTalk and how they want to be able to play these fights out.
Very true. I now think the presence Weibo are putting on bot side, maybe they just want to start up the Otacon. Feels a little bold, but honestly wouldn't be out of their wheelhouse now. But I think mid lane prio is definitely the more important thing to them. And it is still going to be a while till we get that next dragon spawning on the bot side of things. Though it is getting closer and closer to second items for 1xN and for Sitab. See if they can eventually get to that threshold there. Beichuan going to go for a cheeky little steal on the red buff here in top side of the map and does get it away from Tien.
Okay, so that's nice for now, but we kind of put the onus on 1xN and Beichuan here. Beichuan now on this Nefiri, about a level over his opponent, has those two items like we were noting earlier, and has had an okay game so far on the Nefiri, but we haven't really had that breakout performance, that 1v9 Nefiri moment that just goes, oh, nice, we get to see, you know, a certified Nefiri moment. So I am still waiting and kind of holding my breath before we kind of get excited for ThunderTalk, because they have all the makings of a strong team fight here, but they haven't been able to piece it together in this game.
Beichuan has to use his untargetable there to get away from the seismic shove from Xiaohu. Tien now looking for him on the back end. We talked so heavily about Weibo's setup. They have so much area denial. They have so much setup in CC. They get one big pick, one big flick. It could just be the difference maker. Still so much time for another objective coming up. And Weibo are just desperate to get some more dragons. And honestly, if you look back to it, TT's denial of that third dragon, at least that Weibo would have right now after they denied that ocean dragon, is going to come back to be a pretty big boon for ThunderTalk.
At the very least, it'll deny the game or deny the spawn of a soul, at least for the next 6 to 8 minutes. So that's at least good for ThunderTalk. I don't know necessarily. Oh, they're just ripping this. I mean, you have Skarner, you have Isa. Why not? Yeah.
They see Beichuan as well with the wards there, and just pesky little warding control by Hung. Otacon will fall. Flowers aplenty. Roses, rather. And no denial from TT whatsoever. They repositioned on the top side of this fight. And now Dragon's coming up in 30 seconds out. This is tough. Hoya's about to have Meganar. They try to go the re-engage over on the Breathe. Beichuan has everything in his arsenal here for him. They go with the double taunt. And now 1xN. He might just go for those pop-off resets here. They've got them stuck into a corner. And it's dogs to the fight. Although they already lose Feather. That means their frontliner's gone, TT. Even with Meganar, they're feeling a little bit hestant. Weibo fighting on the wrong side of the map. Hoya going for a two-man, but Hoya's the big focus now. Look at Breathe. He's going to be chunked. Beichuan, 1xN gets destroyed as a big taunt comes through from Sitab. Beichuan realizes he's the saving grace, but Light steps up and shines through the darkness and sits them down. A full ace for Weibo.
And what looked like a potential comeback fight for TT is a comedy of errors for them. Multiple different mistakes coming in, miscoordination coming in from all of the members. It'll be another dragon going over to Weibo. And Lennon, I think we're good to say it. I think Weibo are looking mighty dominant and are getting ready for a 2-0 here in this series.
And it's just a question. It's the conversation of finally, like we finally get to see this team functioning together and actually finding dominance. I mean, yes, this play was a little bit topsy-turvy from TT across the board, but Weibo trying to keep a level head during this is so important to think about.
I mean, like, we can't fight here. 1xN just used his jump towards that brush, so we have to wait. I feel like if we were able to communicate that was better. 1xN still kind of only able to just now fight, and then just jumps through all of them and dies instantly. Like,
he went through the ground.
These mistakes are back-breaking here, and while Beichuan isn't able to eventually kind of win this fight, Light goes into the back line. At that point, the game's already over. You've already lost the fight here. I'm glad that Nofe and the rest of the coaching squad can have a little bit of fun, but it just feels like Thunder Talk are just not all there.
And I don't want to put too much of a introspective point or too much of a magnifying glass on the differences between 1xN and Light. 1xN is a developing player. It's been really cool to see his story propelled forward a lot, but you have to realize the difference in veterancy between him and Light. And honestly, it was fully on display right there. On one side, you have the potential for a massive carry moment from 1xN. Gets flubbed there. Light, keeping a calm, steady, ice in his veins approach, goes in and gives that finishing blow that might just be the breaking of the back of TT in this series.
I think that's the difference between veterancy and... Oh, wait a minute. Hong just goes in.
Oh, my God. Feather is just dead. Okay, here goes the heroic entrance onto Beichuan. They can reset the fight onto Tian. Tian's a little bit by himself here, but trying to get out. Has the flash available. Gets over the wall there now. TT, we're trying to look for a little bit of something. They have Hoya with Meganar ulti ready to go and walls around them. They might look for the re-engage onto Tian. He doesn't really have any tools available. Xiaohu has the Weaver's Wall to his name. Light still has the killer instincts there too. TT looking for a push out of mid. They have no vision to this side of the map, though, and Baron started up by Weibo, Alk.
I think Baron is just gone here. Already half HP. Can Patron make the steal? And even if he steals it, can they even win the game from that point? Weibo do not want to try to chance it. They know that Feather is coming back from base. He has the possibility of going. They got to keep going.
Oh, they TP'd away.
Breathe.
Okay, this is chaos. Oh, my God. Weibo. Tian already got the steal before. Can he get it again? He's going to be stolen by Xiaohu of all people. The Tiger King of Spring is earning that namesake now, and Light on the back line is going to be a menace to society here. A triple kill for the man in the mid lane for Weibo. And Xiaohu heard all the doubters. They heard all the naysayers, and he is making sure that Weibo will start this season with a 1-1 in Group Ascend.
There it is. The general, everybody salute for your leader here at Weibo Gaming. They take a big fight win, they get the Baron, and they're probably just going to be looking to push to end. There's a couple of respawns, so I think we got a little bit more time left in this game, but there's even a Mountain Soul in a minute and a half, and it just feels like all the wind is out of the sails of Thunder Talk. This replay, I mean, we were looking at it, we were a little bit questioning. This does allow for Breathe to kind of reset and kind of come at this fight from a different angle. But this Talia, I mean, he has had so much impact in this game alone. And the fact that he gets to have this much terrain generation and stop the rest of TT is just wonderful to see from the veteran in mid lane.
Oh, man. It is a masterclass performance from Weibo. And honestly, it just feels like TT is getting a little bit overzealous in some of these plays. It feels like the game plan is there, the setup is there, but then the execution is not up to the standard that it needs to be. And now they are backs against the wall. I mean, 10,000 gold down at almost 28 minutes is a honestly a little bit of a coffin here that they've built for themselves. Yep. And Tian's going to run down what I said, gets the cleanse out of it. Wait. Oh, no. He gets out. Okay, he's alive. He's fine. He's good. He's fine. Everything is fine.
I will say this does kind of slow down the game. You know, they can go back to mid because they're able to rotate so fast, but they could have been able to slap this wave. There's also a bottom lane wave, so they're probably just going to be playing on these two. Neferi has recalled, and time to see how Weibo close this one out. They can push for a couple more waves here and then look for the dragon that is spawning. Just
all in on the Light, and Beichuan just throws his life away. I guess they said, let's get out of this game, fellas. As that's going to be a chase down by Tian. Doesn't hit the Impale. 1xN struggling to find an end into this one. Seismic shove from Xiaohu is going to be the saving grace as Hoya jumps into his doom. It's a death cannonball from him and a death knell from TT. Weibo will fight even more. That's a 12-1-6 performance from the Tiger King of Spring himself. And I can say he's officially found his moment as they will find a 2-0 domineering victory over TT.